Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, as well on YouTube. Wow, after searching you out with a search party for months, we've had you. This is our third time since Wednesday, and we're starting to get spoiled.
Well, again, I go back to my statement last time. Thank you for finding a way to fit in. So, greatly appreciated.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I'm going to start off with a kind of a curveball. Do you think you'll ever play Texas and Oklahoma as a non-conference game?
Wow, that's a great. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we probably, that's next step. Thinking about it. Certainly would like to explore that, and I'd be interesting to see how our fans felt about that. But right now we're scheduled fairly out for football, so I don't know if it'd be an opportunity, but it certainly is something for us to think about.
Well, and of course they have to want to do that too. I mean, it goes both ways. But I was just curious about that during, now that things have settled down just a little bit. But wanted to ask you that question, Paul.
Mac, on scheduling though, you got 4 new teams coming into the conference, and that's obviously something you have to navigate. Did last year maybe help you guys, since you had to schedule things in 3 days sometimes, maybe help tear down some of the walls in figuring out schedules that were maybe unnecessarily there before?
Yeah, I think Paul, they did. I think we learned that it doesn't have to be that complicated. I think what we really need to be having a conversation about is how far out should we be scheduling? When we think about exciting matchups, whether it's conference matchups, and of course, right now for the Big 12, we play each other. Everybody plays each other, so it's not as what's the word, as important. But as you think about just the dynamics in scheduling, when you get beyond maybe 10 institutions, when we think about non-conference and when we think about conference, do we have to do it that far out? So, for example, if you've got divisions and you're going to play everybody once in your own division, are there some things that you could do that are unique and based on how you're ranked, et cetera, playing those in the other division. Again, non-conference stuff, do we need to be scheduling out 10 years so that we can ensure that there's some exciting matchups? So to your question, yeah, I think it's given us an opportunity again to think about it a little bit differently. I think as we move forward, those 4 schools come in, right? We clearly anticipate them coming in before the end of the 24-25. Do we go to divisions at that point in time? I thought it was unique the way the ACC did it last year during COVID. Obviously a reduction in number of games, but 15 teams, and they did go divisions, 2 best teams. Do we continue to do that? As we do that now with the 10. So a lot for us to think about and consider as we move forward.
Mac, how apprised did you feel the need to keep your coaching staff updated, or how interested were they in the expansion process, and what has kind of been the thoughts that you've gathered from your head coaches as far as expansion in the future and the teams that will be coming in?
Yeah, we kept them, I would say, up to date as best we could. I mean, there were obviously things that I knew that I was required to. keep confidential, and I had to keep confidential. But there were checkpoints, check-ins, I should say, with our coaches. You know, the day of the announcement, we had a meeting with them at 8:15 a.m. and we knew that the presidents were going to vote right about that time, and so we let them know that that the four would be coming in. I think the response has been, Craig, really positive. I know that many of our head coaches, if not all of them, have reached out to their counterparts at those four institutions to welcome them to the league and say hello. But our coaches are competitors. They want to coach, and our student athletes are competitors. They want to compete at the highest level, and I think they feel good about the teams we added and the competitiveness of this new, if you will, Big 12 moving forward.
Have you noticed how much those four fan bases of the incoming group, how passionate they are? Some have flags already with your logo, Big 12 logo on it. I mean, our audience, which exploded back when the Texas and Oklahoma story broke, has become coast to coast. And I mean, every one of those four fan bases are heavily involved in what we do with their daily insight and opinions. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, we have. We had a call today with the athletic directors, and we actually talked about that. We talked about how cool it was to just see reaction by those four institutions, by their fan base, just how excited they are, and and that should make us feel good. That's what we talked about. That they're that excited to come in and lock arms with the 8 of us. Again, it'll be with the 10 of us for probably 1 or 2 years. But it's awesome. And again, I said it on Friday, and I believe I said it again on Saturday, that the Big 12 has a great future and doesn't need to back down to anybody when we think about national relevancy.
I got a question for you. There is still, obviously the Kansas athletic director had a comment about they're still going to look at what's best for them, and everybody has to do that. But this seems to be a time when a comment like that just seems to be bad timing. That doesn't mean what he said is wrong. And then there was a report that got flagged down, and of course I basically nuked pretty quickly about a couple of your schools, one, TCU and Houston, another that were also involved in another conference. Isn't that what the Big 12 needs to get away from and truly try to all 12, not Texas and Oklahoma right now, but all 12, understand the value of just showing unity and actually being united?
Yeah, I think that. So, one is, as don't always believe what you read, and there's no truth to the TCU Houston rumor out there, and of course, when that happens, that gets, for example, people at Texas Tech or at Baylor excited about it, and again, just don't believe everything that you read,
right?
And but I do agree with you, Smoak, that this is a time for us to all come together. I know Travis, the new athletic director at KU, and I didn't hear that comment, and I'm not sure what the context was behind it, but I do know that he's fully locked in. His president was part of the expansion committee, and so his president is absolutely 100% in the trenches, as is Travis. So, but yeah, we can do a better job, be more careful, and I think the next I think the next 3 or 4 years are really critical for us, and even before those 4 enter, just the work that we do and the way we handle it, and some of the groundwork that we lay before they actually start competing. I think if we are smart and we do that really, really well, and we form the right relationships and create the right vision, we're going to be off and running when those schools actually begin competing.
If in fact Texas and Oklahoma were to leave before the end of the grant of rights, one, would you expect the grant of rights to be extended almost immediately? And I know you can't say much. And if in fact they leave a year or two early, do you know whether their exit fees, whatever number it might be, whatever's negotiated, et cetera, does that go to just the remaining 8 schools, or will that be spread out to the incoming schools as well?
Yeah, I think, one, I don't know that that's been completely decided. And if it has, I don't know that, the ADs or necessarily even the CEOs have an awareness of it. I think there's this kind of first tier that, anything before 24-25, the 8 will remain whole as best as possible, right? The conference will do everything it can for the 8 of us to remain whole and then still carry on the commitment to the other 4 between 24 right up to the 24-25. And then I think after that, we're I would suspect we're all, equal, and we'll forge ahead together. The grant of rights piece, again, I think we're all going to live by the current grant of rights until that expires. And then, we'll begin thinking about that next step. And, that's part of the groundwork that we need to begin to lay and to really have strategic, thorough discussion. What's best? How do we really catapult this conference forward? And I think there's a lot that we can get done here in the next couple of years. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor University. How about your head football coach? Obviously 2-0, 2 games you expect to win. Kansas coming up on the road this week. Somewhat comedic at the end of his press conference when referring to meeting Bob Bowlesby under certain circumstances for the first time, where it was always kind of a bad thing or a nervous thing because of all the stuff that was swirling, and that he had a chance to enjoy an opportunity to meet the commissioner.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Aranda, I call it, he can be sneaky funny.
It's true.
And so, and it's certainly easier to be sneaky funny when you've just won a football game. And, I know he was happy about the game. It was certainly a game that we were expected to win. And again, that's no disrespect to Texas Southern. And I think what he was pleased about is we didn't play down to our competition, and that you could see some real growth between the Texas State game and that game. But yeah, he was in good spirits. I can assure everyone though that that evening following the press conference, we sat in the locker room area and we began to talk about Kansas, and he was already focused on playing at Kansas and against the team that I think is much improved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Coastal Carolina score was indicative of really just how well Kansas played and competed, and so they're a better team, and they're a program that I think is going to head in the right direction, and we're going to have to be ready and be prepared to go on the road a second time this season.
I sat with Coach Aranda yesterday for an interview we aired yesterday, and I know that he had to suspend Apu, his defensive tackle, nose tackle, for an incident. He talked about that and even said something in the post game. How much do you get involved? Is there a level of whatever an incident might be before you get involved, or is that something you know right away?
Yeah, it's something that I know right away. I demand that I know. that right away with all of our student athletes in any conduct issue. And so, you know, I'm you know, depending upon, you know, what that conduct issue is or violation of team rules, however you want to describe it, I'll be more involved than you know, some incidents. But you know, with Apu, we were you know, Coach and I were very much aligned and talked through it. And you know, he's a really good young man, and he'll learn from it and get better because of it. But you know, there's a standard that and we've talked about this. There's a standard throughout our athletic department, and we have high expectations, and you know, we're going to continue to hold our young people and our staff, you know, myself included, you know, to that standard.
If a student athlete has to see you, is that like when Mom used to say, "You wait till your father gets home"?
Oh, I don't think it's that bad. At least in my household, man. When I heard that, can't wait till your father gets home. I knew that was not very good. So yeah, but no, again, it's you know, it's a collaboration. Head coach and myself and sport program administrator, and you know, there's, as you can imagine, right? There's things that I'm more disappointed with than maybe some other things, and there's some things that, you know, I can even get angry about, you know, when some things happen, because I just, you know, sometimes you know, those are they're things that just shouldn't happen. And but look, we you know, we all make mistakes, and it's about how you handle them once you do, and how you grow from them and learn from them. And you know, I think in general, you believe in second chances. Now, there's some things that absolutely there are no second chances for, but for those things that they're second chances, again, it's really up to that individual to see how they respond to it, and if they respond well, you know, we move forward. If they don't, then, you know, that's another conversation.
So, Mac, I've been waiting about an hour to say that I got the new potential expansion of class limits. I misunderstood it when I read it earlier, and I knew about the cap, but I don't know. I needed to kind of read it over again, and now I think I have a better grasp of what it's going to look like if the NCAA does move forward like they look like they will on expanding football signing class limits. What are your thoughts? I know there's a couple of different, you know, outlines that are out there on how this could work, but what do you think about an expanded football signing limit?
Yeah, I think that you know, one, you know, anything that's being talked about is you know, just for a year to see, you know, what it looks like and the impact that it has. Again, you know, the 85 scholarship limitation, you know, would remain in place. So you're not talking about surpassing that.
Right.
You know, I think there's, you know, concern with the transfer portal and the one-time transfer exception, and potentially what's that doing to rosters. And so, you know, trying to give everybody the ability to at least, you know, if you have a number of young men transfer out, that you can replace them. And so, again, you've got that max limit of initial counters of 25, and then there's this idea of, you know, anybody, you know, after a certain point in time that leaves your institution. So after the December 15th early signing period, if they're leaving your institution academically eligible, that you can replace them on a 1-for-1 basis up to 7. So if you lose one, you can only go out and get one. If you lose 7, you can go out and replace all 7. If you lose 10, sorry, you can only replace 7. And
right.
So again, it's something that's being socialized amongst the conferences and in this period of time where we're receiving feedback and reaction to it. So we'll see where this lands. I think we'll know certainly by the end of this month.
Mac, thank you very much. Appreciate you as always for your time and access.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor University, with us on Tuesdays. It's been Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday after 3 times in the last week,
Yeah.
but normally around 4:20 or so on Tuesdays.
That's been bothering me for an hour and a half since we talked about
Yeah.
it, that I didn't know the part about the max cap. Because, to me, it just read like Wild West. And that's where I was like, come on now, this is ridiculous, because you could lose half a class and there's no penalty for it. But, no, having a cap at 7, okay, I'm on board with that. That makes total sense. And, it does seem like it'll be a fair shake for, not necessarily a move that's more pushing for more NIL and more NFL feel and more that. It actually would be something that would be beneficial for those that aren't benefiting as much that way. So I had that confused and had a piece of information missing. So now knowing what I know and then hearing Mac talk about it as well, okay, to everybody out there, it makes a lot more sense.
All right.